back, you're a lot more effective. By thinking about pulling back, you get too much of the bicep action and you're just going to cramp up. If you more concentrate on driving down and lifting your butt off the seat, with that action, you're going to get a lot more efficiency in your paddling. So there, we're number 5 is your power phase. Your power phase should be at the beginning, and that's going to prevent you also from lifting water, because if you're done with your power phase here and your paddle trails back and comes out a little bit, even if you go back too far, you're not really lifting water because you don't have any force on the paddle. So that's number 5, and I recommend for people, especially, well, actually for anybody, but people just sort of getting serious about paddling, you need to, about every 5 minutes, go through that list of 5 things. Now I think when we're done here, we'll probably have close to 10, but the second 5 are important, but maybe not quite as critical as the first 5. So, and then as you get a little more experience, matter of fact, in a 2-person canoe, a lot of times as a partner, we'll remind each other to breathe, stay relaxed, or paddle in front of you, or things like that. Those are the things that you can help each other remind you. A lot of times you get into a zone, and you guys, your partner, you don't really say much for like 10 minutes or 5 minutes at a time, so it's good to kind of remind each other. Now, I'm paddling in the one-man boat, and I probably fall into bad habits a lot, so that's why I need to be probably going through that list every 5 minutes or even more. And if I'm monitoring my heart rate, what will happen if I'm all of a sudden not concentrating? My heart rate will go down below 120, even though it feels like I'm putting an effort. 120, you might as well stay home, because that's not really giving you much conditioning. So I like to keep my heart rate after warming up in the 130s or higher. And I find what I can do to do that, go through that list of 5 things, my heart rate will go from 115 to 135 without, it doesn't seem like it's that much more effort. It's not, my muscles aren't more sore or anything. It's just because I'm using my core, and if you're using your core, that requires more blood flow, so your heart rate's going to go up. And generally, you're going to find this correlates to faster boat speed. And actually, I'd like to build an app, a coaching app. Now that we have GPS to determine speed, you can actually use technology to correlate that, so that if you're doing everything correctly, that your boat speed is up, your heart rate is up, and it's all making a difference in your performance. So anyway, enough on that. You don't really need the technology. You can do it without technology, really. So there we have 5 elements. So now I'll get into the more finer points. Probably, I would say number 6, that most people do is they bury their paddle too far. Okay? There's really no reason for this paddle to go much more than this sticker, right? But what happens is you put the paddle in quickly to here, but sometimes it goes clear to here. And you don't really need your paddle to be in that deep, because what happens is it makes it harder to pull it out. So I find one of my bad habits is I tend to bury the paddle too much, and I've found this out by accident. I was at a race in Michigan, and we had passed a couple teams. This is the long race, 120 miler. We had 2 hours to go on a shallow river, and I told my partner, before we caught the team, I think we're going to catch these guys, but psychologically, let's make it so that they don't want to come back at us. We know we're tired. We don't know if we can keep this up. So this is what we do. We're both going to paddle with our blades just halfway and throw a bunch of water. So that looks like from behind we're actually sprinting. And we did that. This is a twisty, turny, wide river, kind of like this, maybe not quite as wide. We actually had one of the fastest split times in that last hour and a half of all the 90 teams that were there. Even though we finished, I think, 10th, we actually had, I think, the number 2 or 3 fastest time. Now, we weren't even trying to paddle fast. We were just wanted to make sure that the teams we put behind us, at least until they got out of sight, it looked like we were fresh and sprinting. So that tells me that, in general, not a hard fast rule, but in general, that you don't have to bury your paddle to go fast. Okay, so I would say number 6 is make sure that you're not burying your paddle. And if you're sucking a little bit of air, in other words, if your paddle's making some noise, that's not necessarily bad. Don't feel like you have to have a perfectly quiet blade. I don't know if there's that much to that. So sometimes that'll take the pressure off your arms. So if you do a little bit of noisy paddling, but all your elements are correct, you're not bringing your paddle back too far, you're not lifting up too far, you're not fanning, you're breathing, relaxing, you're probably as fast or maybe even faster than having a perfectly quiet paddle where you're burying your paddle too far, because again, the farther you bury your paddle, the more you have to pull it out. So I have something I need to look into a little more. Now, here we come to a spot in the river. It's wide. You see an island in the middle, and this would be a tough call. Now, just looking up, I would say that the main channel goes left of this island. But if you were going to check this out beforehand, you might want to have 2 boats. If you have 2 boats, one boat, you make agree everybody paddles 130 heart rate, and try to maintain, same intensity, and see what happens. One person goes one way, one person goes another. It's not always obvious where your best current is. All right, so number 6 is don't bury your paddle. Make sure you get it in quick, but ideally you'd almost want to have the paddle, get it in early, quick, and then as you come back, actually start having the water slip off the paddle, so by the time you're done with your power phase, you're halfway out. So that's number 6. And again, these are finer points, very important, but the top 5 are probably, if you want to remember anything, remember those top 5. The other ones will kind of make sense as you can think about those. So let's review again. So again, if you want to calibrate your stroke, pop your paddle up, drive it in at your ankle, and then pop it out when your hand is at your knee. Okay, so number 1 and 2 is where you put in, where you take out, very important. And you can calibrate it by exaggerating and then fall into a more natural stroke. I think number 3 was breathing. Make sure you breathe. I think it was breathing. Anyway, breathing's important. Make sure you blow out all the way back there as you can. Take a deep breath, and then maybe do that twice or so if you really feel sore. And if you do that over a period of 2 or 3 minutes, your soreness will most likely just at least be minimized, if not go away completely. Relaxing. Remember, you can also calibrate your stroke by getting really loose fingers in between while you're recovering, loose fingers and tense. That's going to help pump your body. And then get your stroke in front of you. Make sure you get your power down. I think that's number 5. And then make sure your paddle, think about having your paddle release out of the water. Number 6, I'm not sure if I'm getting this right order or not, I'll write this down, would be your body motion. In an ideal world, your head, if you look at the bar versus the bottom, if you're going forward, you can see from that reference the bar changes position on the bottom. If you drew lines on the bottom of the boat, you can line up this bar with the line, and ideally you shouldn't have that bar change where it crosses that line. So, but the problem with that obviously is you feel like a robot, and that's not good. It's more natural and I think more efficient to have your body come slightly forward in a twist, maybe head slightly down, and then you pull back, and that should change maybe like half an inch to an inch. In other words, naturally, to make your body work with your stroke, is going to be a little forward back. But if you look at some paddlers, it's like there's a 4-inch difference. And what's worse is not only do they not go forward and back, they do opposite. They drive down and go forward, and when they come back, it's to recover. Okay? If you have any forward and back motion, which we're going to have some, you want to do the opposite. You want to come forward when you stroke and pull back, not the opposite. So when you're driving down, you should see that bar change as if we're going back, which means the bar goes forward reference to the bottom. If you're seeing the opposite, if you're going down and this bar comes back, that means you're driving down and dropping your head. Again, a lot of paddlers do it, they get away with it for a while, but the inefficiency of the boat bouncing up and down counters for this, I guess, trying to throw their weight down on your paddle, which is actually good for driving down. It's okay to feel like you're throwing your weight, but don't drop your head too much. If anything, it should be coming back. It's one of probably the classic Rankin, and my uncle and we fight that all the time because we naturally want to drop our heads. We're not thinking. We get into this fanning. We go heads back at the start. We drop it. Our paddles. So if we're not constantly countering that with a more efficient biomechanical action, we'll naturally fall into this very inefficient stroke. So again, all the things I'm saying is you sort of want to have these in mind as you're developing your style. And your style is going to be what fits you biomechanically. And I've come up with this theory a long time because I've always wondered why the top paddlers all kind of paddle a little different. And it's not that it's that much different, it's just that they have their own style according, if they have really long arms, it may look like they're, have a really high stroke, but that's just because they've got big arms. If you have shorter arms, it might make better sense not to lift your paddle up so high. I'm just saying that there's, it's hard to kind of explain, but again, keep all these things in your head, but do the thing that feels best for your body style. It's going to be slightly different for everybody. So we just talked about your head and back and forward motion. Again, that's probably the toughest. Maybe I should have mentioned that up earlier, but again, that's more refinement. And when you're in a war canoe, it's probably less important what the individual is doing in terms of head bobbing. It's probably more important that they're in the correct timing with their partner. Okay, let's see what else we got. Actually, this is a good time for a pause, so I'm going to turn this off and then we'll come right back.